Okay then, Helldivers, we are back and we've got loads to go over today as we have just received the ginormous patch that was released. That was supposed to be coming tomorrow, has now officially come today. So there is loads to go over because this patch is just absolutely ginormous with an array of different balance changes, an array of fixes, crash fixes, and hopefully some performance changes to boot. We also have a video coming up from Nicolas and Lennart, so this is great news indeed because there's a lot to actually dive into with this one. So this is going to be quite a lengthy video. Apologies in advance. If you haven't already, smash that like button and subscribe with post notifications turned on. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to get involved with that giveaway for Super Credit, it's very, very simple. Put any coloured love heart in the comment section because we just need to get on with this. Let's see what's happening inside of this patch update. So they go on to state that there are over 200 bug fixes alongside the key balance updates and quality of life improvements, which are absolutely ginormous. While the new features are coming, the patch marks a big step towards both the in-game itself and how we work to improve it. More refinements are already underway, but we can see, based on the original generic general changes, that there is a lot to go over as improvements have been made across the board to make sure that there is an effectiveness to all of weapons, sidearms, throwables, and stratagems, as well as a change to the light versus medium penetration weapons. We can see that they've made now a distinctive advantage between the two, meaning that you should now notice exactly how these two things work, and there should be a difference in feeling for them. It makes a huge difference, at least on paper. SMGs and pistols now have a big change up as we can take a look into what those are going to be, but essentially at closer range, all of these SMGs and pistols are going to be a absolute demonic movement compared to what they were before, and melee weapons and throwables are now going to have a bit of a difference in it. So they're going to have some changes that will make them all feel extremely unique and impactful, or at least that's what they're going for. And then on top of that, the resupply pack is no longer climbable, so yeah, nice little advantage, I think. When we look at the primary weapons, though, we can see exactly what it is that they've done to so many of the primaries. The Plasma Punisher now has a damage projectile decreased from 100 to 0, and the explosion increased from 150 to 225. Now, the reason for that is it looks like a negative, but you never got that projectile damage initially as it has a proximity trigger, so it never had that projectile damage in the first place. So they put it down to 0 because it never impacted. What it does mean, though, is that because of the proximity trigger, it will explode before it hits, therefore creating more of an impact, with 225 being the increase for that. Moving into the Slugger, though, the damage increase from 280 to 330 is a substantial increase indeed. It had quite a large drag, so initially there was quite a big drop-off. The durable damage has increased from 75 to 90. Now, we'll notice that that's changed a lot with a lot of weapons, as this essentially means that at a closer range, there is going to be more of a bigger impact in the damage that you will actually sustain. So it's really, really helpful that they've done that. With the original Liberator, they have increased the damage from 80 to 90, and again, up close and personal, the increase has gone from 15 to 22. So a damage increase across the board for that one, as well as some increases in the exact same areas happening for the Liberator Carbine, the Penetrator, and also having the exact same movements for the Concussive and the Tenderizer. It's quite nice to see that there is going to be some impacts with those weapons to make them a little bit more punchy. Taking it into a medium pen weapon, though, is something a little bit different. We've got the Pacifier. Now, they've actually increased the damage from 50 to 55, and the stun value per projectile has been increased from 1.5 to 2. Now, this was originally at 1, and then it was increased again, and then now it's been increased again. So the stun value should really cause quite a big punch. Hopefully, we'll see how that one plays out over the next 24 hours or so. Now, when we take a look at some of the other ones, such as the SMGs, though, this is where obviously there is probably a bigger impact, as it's been quite an interesting one to see play out. The Defender has had a damage increase, as well as the up close and personal durable damage increase, and also a drag increase from 0.6 to 1.2. So that's almost a double on how the drag actually works, but you can obviously get that damage a bit more better if you are a lot closer, a bit like an SMG would actually work. They also did the exact same thing for the Knight as well. So overall, essentially, they've just given us that power fantasy that we've been looking for, with a bit more damage to make us a bit stronger. With the Reprimand, they have had the damage increase from 125 to 135, and a drag increase again on a double scale from 0.6 to 1.2. So again, the Reprimand was already quite a good weapon anyway, but now we should have a bit of a better movement when we are a little bit closer with that SMG. The Pummeler has also had all of those changes, but also has the stun value increase a lot like the Pacifier has, meaning that there is now a bigger impact towards that that stun value. I think that the stun values were quite good anyway, so seeing how that's impacted is going to be absolutely incredible. A lot more similar changes happening to all of these weapons you can see on screen, such as the sickle, the assault rifle from the Halo Warbond, the M7S SMG, the STA-11 SMG has all had the exact same changes. They've just obviously had that bit of a damage increase to really give us that power fantasy that we've been earning for. Now, obviously, there is one weapon which is a little bit off the mark and normal, is the Plas 39 accelerator rifle. It's actually received spare magazines to increase it from 8 to 12, and the ergonomics increase from 40 to 60. Now, what a lot of us wanted was an increase in the mags. It was really low on the ammo consumption, and it was something that a lot of us didn't really enjoy. So it'll be quite funny to see how that one plays out, but I don't think that it was enough to really give you guys a need to use the accelerator rifle personally, but maybe that's just my play style. Now, looking at the stuff inside of the secondary slot, also known as your sidearms, we have got a lot to go over with the overall melee weapons. We wanted to feel a bit of a difference. They all kind of felt the same, and they've kind of come through with that one. We have got the Saber, which has had a damage increase from 110 to 125, and a durable damage increase from 55 to 60. This one is essentially quite a fast-paced attack style, so it's going to be a lot faster than such as the Hatchet and the Machete, which have also had changes. The Combat Hatchet has had its damage increased by a substantial amount of 50 and a durable damage of 25, which is a huge amount, but the attack speed has been slightly reduced to make it a little bit slower for the massive increase that they've put into the damage. And the Machete, they've done exactly the same thing. So the Machete now is going to feel still as slow as it was, but it's going to have a ginormous impact on what it is that you hit with it, meaning that just because it's slower means that it will have a bigger boom. Meaning that if you want a fast-paced one, use the Saber. The medium attack one would be your Combat Hatchet, and the heavy but really impactful attack would be the Machete, meaning that there is a bit more of a variable change to how they actually operate. So for me, that's quite a good change for how the melees will run through. The Peacemaker, the Redeemer, the Verdict, and the SOCOM, as well as the Warrant, have all also had changes. And these are all buffed up, so damage increases all across the board, durable damage increases, and some of them did receive that drag increase from the 0.6 to the 1.2, but essentially it makes it just a lot better at a closer range, because realistically, that's what they should be utilized for. So I'm glad that they've boosted that damage, but made it so that you kind of have to be at a closer range to be able to utilize it fully. Now, with the P92 Warrant, one of my favorite secondaries inside of the game, we can see that it's had a drag decrease from 0.3 to 0, so there's like absolutely no drag at all on it, and a gravity multiplier decrease from 1 to 0.3, which we don't actually have the full info on what a gravity multiplier is, but nonetheless, it has obviously been decreased. This should still give us a big bang that we want, and the P92 Warrant should still be a good weapon to utilize. Now, taking a look at the throwables, we've got some big changes coming in, as the Dynamite has now had a ginormous buff to take its armor pen from medium to heavy, and a damage increase from 700 to 1,000, which means, well, Dynamite now does big freaking boom, and the stagger increase there, but they have decreased the uses from 4 to 3. So you've lost one of the Dynamite, but these things are just so much more impactful. You can throw it into a bug hole, it'll do everything that it needs to do, and there's going to be a big bang that comes off the end of it. Overall, quite a nice change to the Dynamite. When we take a look at the Pineapple, though, this thing was always underwhelming. It was severely undercooked on launch, and they have definitely buffed this through the roof. The Shrapnel is absolutely huge, man. This is ginormous. As the Shrapnel's main explosion increase from 7 to 18, the demolition strength on the main explosion has been increased by 10 as well, which means you can now close bug holes with it. The inner radius of the Shrapnel has now been increased from 1 to 2.5 meters, and we've also seen a damage on Shrapnel explosion. The way that the removal of the lifetime of Shrapnel works, though, is it means that you can kind of like throw it into the air and it will blow up mid-air, and then the Shrapnel will rain down, meaning that you can cause an area of effect damage. And now we don't have as much of a tick-tick boom everywhere. So the Shrapnel had shrapnel in it. So one shrapnel would explode and then release smaller shrapnel and cause the inputs from that. They've now removed that, so it's just more bigger shrapnel, which means more bigger impact, hopefully. And as they stated in the Nicholas video, there is now obviously going to mean that that's better for performance because it shouldn't shake up the room so much. The Seeker Grenade, higher priority for flying enemies. Thank the Blunkin Lord. I was waiting for this one, and the highest target priority for marked targets. So it will definitely go for the marked target now, and if it's flying, then it will obviously lead towards that if you've not marked anything. They've also had a damage increase, which is crazy, and I'm not seeing any fix for the main count for this, because if you used a Seeker grenade and threw it at something, it would count all of the limbs as one individual kill, meaning that you guys could rack up some insane numbers. But yeah, I don't see that anywhere. The frag, they've increased the amount of uses from 5 to 6. The smoke has also increased 1 use as well, and then the throw-in knives has increased the damage by 50 and the durable damage from 100 to 150, meaning that if you get up close, the knives will do a lot more. Still doesn't make me want to use it, but that's just my opinion. Now, randomly, they've just input that the Plas 1 Scorcher plasma projectiles will now pass through foliage without losing velocity. So, yeah, that's a great input, I guess, but I don't know why that's there. Moving on to Stratagems, as they've changed so much inside of these as well. The Plas Epoch is now going to be able to close bug holes. That's pretty much the biggest thing that you want to know about. It's absolutely awesome now that it can do that, and the duration of the explosion has been increased, so it means more damage for a longer period of time. The standard projectile explosion has also been increased, and yeah, they've got the delayed muzzle charge VFX by 0.5 seconds, so it now appears when the projectile is overcharged, improving the visibility of the charge state, meaning that you guys should blow up a lot less. Overall, great change for the Epoch. The Stalwart has had just damage increases across the board, which is always nice to see. It should now be better close range and have more damage, but overall should have more damage inside of it. And then you've got the Flamethrower. The canister capacity has been increased by 20, and the starting canisters has been increased by 1, so more ammo for your Flamethrower. And the max spare canisters has also been increased from 4 to 5, so overall, just loads more fire for your Flamethrower, which is always really nice to see. The AMR, quite interesting that that's now in here, but the durable damage has been increased substantially from 180 to 225, and the starting magazines have also been increased, with the spare magazines also being increased. Hopefully meaning that this should cause a bit more of a punch when you're using the anti-material rifle. The AMR has always been a little bit undercooked and not something that we really enjoy. I've not seen anything just yet, though, about how they fixed the scopes and the way that it actually works in the POV, but we'll look into that a little later on. The autocannon has had a damage increase of 260 to 325, which is nice to know, obviously, and the de-escalator has also had some damage increases overall, which is actually quite nice to see, because that thing, again, very, very low on the table of things that people want to use. The solo silo has had a massive increase to its health, meaning that it won't blow up so quickly, and enemies will now not attack it, so it doesn't have that rage bait attached to it. They've also increased the demolition strength needed to destroy it, so overall, it just means that it's a little bit more durable, and it shouldn't like rain in on them. So as soon as you put down the solo silo, it won't sort of have all the enemies track it straight away. So for me personally, a great change, because that was one of my biggest pet peeves. The Orbital Rail Cannon Strike has had its cooldown decrease from 210 to 180, meaning that you guys should be able to use it more often. And the Exo 45 Patriot Exosuit missile armor penetration is worse angles increased from 6640 to 6650, and a rotary gun ammo capacity increase from 1000 to 1350. Essentially meaning if you're using those missiles while you're turning, there should now be a little bit more of a better feeling, and obviously the ammo increase on the rotary gun is always definitely welcome. Moving from that, though, we've now got a load of enemy changes. The Illuminate have got quite a big one, and you guys are obviously going to be really happy with this, but the Flesh Mob itself has had now a bit of a damage buff point. So essentially we now do critical damage, and it's absolutely incredible, because if you shoot the faces, it will now give a weak spot per se, and there's a lot of them, so you'll be able to cause more damage. As well as that, they've also had the health decrease from 6,000 to 5,000, and most health zones are slightly more durable. They've obviously had less vulnerable to fire to balance the health decrease, so you can't just flame them up and they'll die, but you are obviously going to be able to impact them quite heavily if you're using more ballistic weapon types, or at least that's how I'm reading it. The Elevated Overseer had a ginormous nerf, like ginormous nerf. Everything was decreased, all of its armor, its health, everything is just done with. Now, it's had a slight increase on how easy it is to set fire, so you guys can just take these things out left, right, and center now. Definitely a positive for me, because I bloody hate them. And the Leviathan, now equipped with a beam-based weapon extraordinary, and they will also now not show up outside of missions in cities. So you'll only see the Leviathans in cities, and they've now got a beam-based weapon. I mean, hopefully they're not as much of a pain in the rear end, and you can see exactly where it is that it's shooting, a bit like the orbital laser beam. So make sure that you do go ahead and check those ones out. The Terminids have had a lot of changes, as obviously the Rupture Strain has now made a bit of a comeback inside of this. The Rupture Strain updated the textures of all Rupture Strain enemies for better readability, which for me personally is absolutely great. They've obviously made the big changes on the Warrior that we all wanted. Movement speed underground is decreased. They now need to surface more often when moving around, so they can't just burrow straight through and get you straight away. The burrow attack is slightly slower and leaves more space to be dodged, which is really helpful because that was the biggest problem. And the smaller damage boxes when attacking from below. Now, obviously, on top of that, the front legs armor has been decreased from 3 to 2, meaning that you can now cause more damage to them, and will prefer to emerge before attacking turrets instead of destroying them from below the ground. So overall, quite some nice changes to the Warrior, but you need to really jump in and feel it for yourself to know whether it's worth looking into or not. The Rupture Spewer returning has obviously given it a change as well. So now when it does burrow and unburrow, it will take a little bit more time to be able to attack straight away. And again, with the Bile Spewer variations, they've increased the size of the mouth for its weak spot, which is very, very nice. But I thought the Bile Spewers were relatively okay anyway. That's my personal opinion. The Brood Commanders, slightly harder to set on fire. Awesome. That's just what we needed. The Brood Commanders to be bloody harder than what they are. Warriors overall, though, slightly harder to set on fire, and slight durable increase to the head and the body, which, again, I don't particularly want, but that's what we've got. The Dragon Roach, spawn rates have been decreased all across the board for all levels from level 5 to level 10. So we've now got a huge decrease on those, which means that they shouldn't spawn as frequently. And the destruction of the wings results in an instant termination of the dragon now. So you can actually cause a bit of damage to them. The wings will have their own health pool of 4,000. And increased how much damage the wings can take from explosion, so you can't take them out so fast, but now taking out the wings will make an impact on them. Although it doesn't add to the overall health pool, as they have their own health pool. Really weird way of looking at it, but yeah, that's how that is. The Bile Spewers are slightly harder to set on fire, and a larger body parts are significantly more durable now, as well as the Hive Lord have improved the performance during Hive Lord encounters, which is definitely necessary. The performance on it was absolutely atrocious, and the FPS just tanked into the ground. Now, Automatons, this was one that you guys are going to want to hear about because the War Strider has obviously got some changes. But first of all, Automaton troopers in bases will require better visual confirmation before calling in reinforcements instead of calling them in immediately. Devastators, on top of that, have slightly harder to be put on fire, and larger body parts are slightly more durable. Not sure we needed that, but that's something that they changed. The command bunker turrets removed ragdolling from its projectiles explosion, so we now don't ragdoll all across the map consistently because of those bloody bunker turrets, so I'm actually really glad about it. The Factory Strider, slightly less vulnerable to fire, which again for the crisper move underneath could actually mean that it's a little bit more realistic now, but we all know how you guys feel about realism. And then the War Striders. You can shoot 2 fewer grenades from the salvo now. So it still shoots quite a lot of grenades, but they've got 2 less. And it shoots grenades less often, meaning that the turnover for these things won't be that they're on top of you all the time. They've removed the ragdolling from its projectiles explosion and added weak spot aims for the eyes and the vents on the back. So they did listen to what it is that Odo had recommended. Very well done to that one, because it's actually quite a good change. Scout Striders have armored top shield is more durable, but that's literally about it. So overall, as far as the balance changes goes for weapons and for the enemies, it's an incredible turnover, and I actually think that they've done such a good job with it. I'm really excited to try this one out. We won't be live today, but we are going to be live tomorrow going through absolutely everything. Exciting, exciting times. At this point in the video, I want to apologize because we're 20 minutes in now and this video is ginormous, but we've still got all the fixes, crashes and stuff to go over, so you'll have to hang in there with me. We'll try and brief this one up, but as we can see via the Stratagem fixes, they have now finally fixed the Nuke Nursery Cave mission. Bloody beautiful, because that was an absolute nightmare, but that's now fixed and it will land exactly where it's meant to. They've also fixed the Hellbomb Stratagem being able to come down on top of caves as well, so again, that's been fixed on the Destroy Spore Lung missions. You can now stay aiming raining down sights when activating the Lift 860 hover pack, and they fixed the drill objective stratagem where it would land on unintended places such as on top of caves and stuff like that. It's actually quite some nice changes to the stratagems. But we're going to get into the deeper stuff as crashes. There is an array of crashes that have now been fixed. I'm not going to break these down one by one as there are a lot of crashes overall. I actually expected this segment to be a lot larger, as I know that people have been having a lot of problems with the crashes inside of this game, but these are the array of crashes that will now not hopefully happen. It shouldn't be the case. I don't really know why any of this has been happening, but hopefully they get in a little bit deeper to be able to fix some more of those. As far as the weapons go, though, there has been an array of fixes to the weapons as well. And this includes a lot of different things like the armor penetration values in the stat menu, or they fixed the weapon reload animation. They fixed the projectiles hitting direct center of sights. You know what I mean? Those sorts of initial fixes in that term as well. So some quite good changes there. But when we take a look at the miscellaneous ones, though, this is where it gets quite interesting, as what they have actually fixed is an array of weird clipping and disconnects, but they've also managed to fix some of the rare soft locks that would happen. Hopefully this is something that will genuinely fix a lot of the things for PC, as controller vibrations, miscellaneous threading, and loads of issues that have now happened will hopefully now be fixed. And overall, the way that they've changed a lot of this, including the optimization that we went over yesterday, I'm hoping that the performance overall is actually changed correctly. So we'll see exactly how that one plays out. And so far from what I'm seeing online at this point of recording, this is absolutely great, and I'm so glad that everything's gone well. Nonetheless, we're going to get on with it. If you haven't already, smash that like button and subscribe with post notifications turned on. Make sure you get to your Hellpods, Helldivers, test out whether this thing has actually been for the better. Thanks again for watching, like, subscribe, and as always, I'll see you in the clouds.